A lot of companies tell drivers, don't worry, the audio only records during a wreck. That's not how these systems actually work, and understanding that difference really matters. Now, I'm not saying companies are recording you 24/7 like a tape recorder, that's not true. But what I am telling you is this: for a system to know when to record audio, it has to be active and monitoring all the time. These systems don't know what a wreck is. They don't understand intent. They don't understand context. They only understand thresholds. Thresholds are hard braking, sudden deceleration, swerving, hitting a pothole, even hitting a dock too hard. So when drivers hear it only records during a wreck, what that really means is anytime the algorithm decides something significant happened. And here is why this becomes so important because once a driver asks the company, especially in writing, for cameras or audio to be turned off, the legal posture of the company changes. They don't have to comply, but they do own the decision that they make next. And see, that's the most part that drivers miss. And a lot of companies don't understand this. And before we go any further, let's clear up a major misconception. This does not apply to just inward facing cameras only. Inward facing cameras and outward facing cameras can both have microphones. Audio has nothing to do with where the camera points. It has everything to do with what the system is capable of and what's enabled in the settings. From a legal standpoint, audio is the highest risk component, not video. Now, let's talk about this idea of event based audio because this is where a lot of confusion comes from. Event based audio doesn't mean that the system is off until a wreck happens. It means that the system is powered, it means the system is active, and it means that the system is monitoring. So it can decide when to save audio and video. So, no, it's not storing audio files every second of the day, but yes, it has to be listening in order to know when an event happens. It's kind of messed up, right? Another thing drivers aren't told clearly is what actually counts as an event. It's not just crashes, okay? Events can include hard braking, sudden deceleration, swerving to avoid traffic, hitting potholes, bumping docks too hard, even trailer drops, and lane deviation alerts. It's kind of crazy. So when drivers hear only during a wreck, what that usually means is anytime the algorithm decides something significant has happened. Now, here's the part that really matters. When a driver formally asks the company, especially in writing, for inward or outward camera audio or video to be turned off, something very critical happens. Disclosure is now on the record. From that moment forward, the company knows the driver has objected to this. The company knows consent is disputed, and the company knows it is continuing recording anyway. That does not force the company to turn anything off, but it absolutely changes the liability. And here's something drivers don't, usually see. When a driver makes that request, it rarely stops with dispatch. It gets forwarded, it goes to safety, it goes to compliance, and very often it goes to their legal department. Because now there's a documented moment when a driver said, I'm not comfortable with this. And from that point forward, the company starts thinking very different. They are no longer just asking, does this help us with safety? What they are asking is, what happens if this shows up in a courtroom? And that's why you hear answers like, we only record during events, audio isn't enabled, or this is required for safety. Those answers aren't random, they are risk responses. Now let's talk about what happens if there's a crash later. The truck is involved in an accident. The case goes to court. Discovery begins. Plaintiff attorneys are going to ask, is there an inward or outward video? Is there audio? Was consent documented? Did the driver ever object? You see, if there's a recording showing the driver asked for cameras or audio to be turned off and that the company refused and recording continued anyway, that footage doesn't just become evidence, it becomes liability. I also want to address some of the comments we've been seeing. People saying that the company will just lie to you. Well, some might, some won't. But asking isn't about trust. What it's about is documentation. You see, once you ask disclosure, it's on the record. There was even some comments about Canada and privacy laws. In Canada, you can't use audio in Canada. It's illegal. Canada does have stricter privacy and consent laws, especially around audio. They have very strict laws. That's why many companies operating there disable audio entirely. Not because the hardware can't do it, but because the legal exposure was so high, they just said they're not fooling with it. And many people are saying that inward cameras are illegal, and some say inward-facing cameras are an invasion of privacy. They are not automatically illegal. Courts look at disclosure, consent, purpose, limits, and whether audio is involved. The issue isn't really the camera. The issue is how it's used and whether drivers were informed. So let me be very clear about this. Is asking the company force them to turn the cameras or the audio off? No, it doesn't. But that's not the point of this. Asking them puts the decision on record. And you see, once it's on record, the company owns the choice. They own the legal exposure, it all changes, and the risk shifts. So drivers, it's simple. If you're smart, ask in writing, be professional, and be very calm. Not because they have to comply, but because, look, if something goes wrong later, that paper trail is very important. And that's the part drivers and the companies need to understand. And here at Big Rig Nation, it's like I've always said, the drivers are going to come first.